The Marvel Cinematic Universe has a wide range of power levels within its colorful and memorable roster. Carol Danvers and Wanda Maximoff are two such characters. In the comics, however, one is significantly more powerful than the other, while in the MCU, it's the other way around.
You guys don't have any clue, do you?
Let's break down why. There are many different kinds of characters on the Avengers. Some lean into the support side of things and have no real superpowers of their own, like Black Widow, Hawkeye, and yes, even Iron Man, who simply used intellect to craft a powerful suit. Then there are mid-tier powerful heroes like Captain America, Spider-Man, and Black Panther. But then there are the near godlike characters like Thor, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel, who may actually be the strongest of them all.
So cool.
But it wasn't always that way. Since her proper introduction in the second Avengers film, Age of Ultron, fans have been keeping their eyes on Wanda Maximoff, better known to us as the Scarlet Witch. While appearing as the child of Magneto in the comics, the MCU wasn't allowed to make that connection at the time due to Fox owning the rights to the X-Men franchise, and thus they rewrote her backstory to suit her new cinematic origins. Hydra got a hold of her brother, and other children and used Loki's scepter to experiment on them, trying to force superpowered mutations on them. Of all the experiments, the Maximoff children were the only ones to survive and be bestowed with powers. Pietro was granted super speed, which is cool, don't get us wrong, but compared to his sister, he kinda got shafted in terms of powers. That's because Wanda was granted actual magical abilities. Whether these abilities were already part of their genealogy or if the Mind Stone created these powers remains to be seen, but Marvel's Kevin Feige definitely implied in 2017 that her powers were mystical, not unlike Doctor Strange's.
You didn't need that, did you?
No, I didn't, but I enjoyed it.
One thing is for certain though, the Mind Stone is the key that unlocked these powers. Magic has been something that's slowly been introduced into the MCU. Thor said that magic was simply science, but as the MCU continued to develop, that statement has become less accurate. Doctor Strange is a literal sorcerer who practices the mystic arts, while Wanda's powers are another form of magic that defy the laws of science. She can get into people's thoughts, including the Asgardian near-god Thor, and can control their minds, such as when she brainwashed the Hulk. She can make objects fly, create force fields, and that's all before she uses her powers in a direct and physical manner. Just look at how she wastes Ultron's minions and Thanos' Outriders. Heck, she's even able to hold back Thanos for a bit, and he had 5 Infinity Stones in his gauntlet, while she was also destroying the Mind Stone. It's crucial to bear in mind, though, that in each passing movie, Wanda seems to get a better understanding of her powers, and thus becomes more powerful. Most importantly, though, she wasted Vision in Civil War. Vision was hyped up to be one of the most powerful beings in Age of Ultron, largely because he was powered by an Infinity Stone, and he could wield Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Let's not forget that Vision can make himself ethereal, so Wanda's magic can still pin down a guy who can let matter phase right through him.
I don't think it's that simple.
So, bearing in mind that Wanda is that overpowered and that her powers originated from an Infinity Stone, we have to now shift our attention to Carol Danvers, better known to us now as Captain Marvel. Like Scarlet Witch, her MCU origins differ from her comic book origins, but the biggest takeaway is that her powers stem from the Tesseract, aka the Space Stone. Despite this fact that both women's powers came from an Infinity Stone, it's safe to say that Captain Marvel's powers are vastly superior to Wanda Maximoff's. Why is this though, if both of them have powers that originated from the Infinity Stones? Before looking ahead, we have to look to the past and examine the comic book origins of the characters and what that meant for their respective powers. Let's start with Scarlet Witch. In the comics, she's one of the most powerful beings around. She was initially written to be a mutant, but once Jason Aaron got a hold of the character, she was revealed to be something much more than just a mutant, thanks to the High Evolutionary's genetic experimentation. She uses something called chaos magic, which is so rare and powerful that Doctor Strange himself, the Sorcerer Supreme, thought it was made up. She has the ability to control and use this magic because she was born on Mount Wandagore, her namesake. The comic series House of M, which you should totally read if you haven't, was a perfect showcase of Wanda's insane powers. In the comics, she's plagued with mental sickness, and in her state, she creates a whole new timeline that actually replaces the current reality. While things started off well in this timeline, the chaos magic started to ask for a balance. And with Wanda's mental instability, she uttered a simple phrase that would have devastating consequences as she restored the timeline: no more mutants. With that one passing comment, the mutant race was almost wiped out of existence. Long story short, the comic book version of Scarlet Witch was seriously overpowered. She could mess with the very fabric of time and reality, and nearly wiped out the entire mutant species with 3 little words. The comic book interpretation of Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel, however, was nowhere near as powerful as comic book Wanda. She's certainly powerful, being able to transform into her binary form, and she can absorb and redistribute energy effectively. Her powers initially came from being hit by an explosion of Kree-made energy. Those powers got a serious boost once she was experimented on by the Brood. In more recent comics, Carol's mother was actually Kree, making her physiology more organic than experimental. But no matter how she got her powers, they're not reality-altering powers, unlike Wanda's skill set in the comics. So what happened in the MCU, where the tables have clearly turned in terms of which of these 2 characters is the strongest?
You have finally asked a relevant question.
As previously mentioned, both characters' origins were changed drastically for their Marvel Cinematic Universe appearances, and both share superpowers that originated from an Infinity Stone. Wanda's was granted thanks to the Mind Stone within Loki's scepter, while Carol took a blast from the Tesseract as she destroyed the Lightspeed engine that was powered by the Space Stone. The impact would have normally killed her, but the Kree infused their own blood into hers, and it ultimately saved her life. While Carol isn't as strong as the Tesseract, as she only took a small fraction of the stone's power, she is still strong enough to be called the strongest hero in the entire MCU at this point in time. And that comes from Marvel themselves. Both characters have been revealed to have signatures related to their powers, and their connections to the Infinity Stones. The Skrulls note that Captain Marvel's energy signature is on the same frequency as the Tesseract, and use it to track. Likewise, Vision stated in Infinity War that Wanda's powers have the same signature as the Mind Stone, and that's why he believed she could be powerful enough to destroy the stone should it come to that. So we have 2 instances where other characters comment on the fact that the energy readings from these 2 characters can be traced back to an Infinity Stone. But while Scarlet Witch can perform great and mind-melting feats, her powers seem to drain and leave her exhausted, as evident by her state of being after destroying the Mind Stone in Infinity War. The same can't be said for Carol, who was shown fighting off a Kree capital ship and a large attacking squad, and can also manipulate energy at the same time, all while not needing a moment to catch her breath. So while Wanda is certainly powerful, she's limited by her powers, while Carol can just go nuts and not even break a sweat. There are numerous possibilities as to why this has happened to Wanda and Carol. The most likely is that the power of the Space Stone is simply more potent than that of the Mind Stone, granting Carol superior control over her abilities, thanks to her connection to a more powerful stone. The Space Stone seems to be a limitless source of energy. It can open wormholes through space after all. The Mind Stone, on the other hand, can control, well, minds. While that's certainly a useful power, it definitely isn't as powerful as what the Space Stone is offering.
Am I the only one who did the reading?
Another possibility can be how much of the stone's energy influenced each hero. Carol took a full blast of wild energy from the Tesseract, while Wanda was subject to controlled exposure to the Mind Stone. It's likely that since Carol took more power at once, she was possibly granted a stronger portion of the stone's influence. It's also worth noting that the MCU has subtly implied that the Infinity Stones have some sort of consciousness, with Vision stating they have neurons and that he can feel the stone when Thanos approaches. This implies that perhaps the stones decided how they would influence the other 2 women. A final possibility is how each species can handle the physical effects of an Infinity Stone's energy, as evident by what we learned in Guardians of the Galaxy. In that movie, Peter Quill, a half-human, half-celestial, was able to hold the Power Stone in his hand and not die, which was all but guaranteed to happen. Perhaps with Carol's Kree blood, she has an edge over Wanda over how much power she can use without burning out. Wanda is, after all, only human, and using that much energy may just take its toll on her after a while, despite the fact that she grows stronger with each passing year. Carol was showing off impressive control of her powers in the 90s. Just imagine how strong she is when she meets the Avengers today. If you thought she was strong in her solo film, we're willing to bet that she is even stronger in the upcoming Avengers movie, and that her hybrid physiology is what's ultimately giving her an edge over Wanda.
What the hell is that? Everyone's got a gimmick now.
How do you think Carol ended up being more powerful than Wanda in the MCU? Do you think it was the amount of energy they were exposed to, or that one stone was stronger than the other? Could it be that Carol is part Kree and thus able to control the energy more efficiently? Or do you think we're wrong, and that Scarlet Witch is actually stronger than Captain Marvel? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like it in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching.